What is up, guys? Today I'm gonna make you guys a guide slash tutorial on how to Paladin tanking. It's been requested several times in game. I've seen a lot of people struggling with Paladin tanking, so here is the video. I hope you guys enjoy it, and like, subscribe, and leave a comment if I have something done wrong, if I explained something wrong, or if you had a better idea for next time. So first off, we have the stats I'll be explaining. The following stats that you see ratio wise is that determination is the highest stat I have for tanking. This is so that the engineer's valence is going to buff determination. It's going to make it so that the shield values are going to be higher than usual when instead of running only proficiency and some brutality, whatever. So this is giving me the highest value for my shields that they will get for every time I'm using Retribution when Holy Ground is active. I think it's gonna be the same thing for Holy Shield, but Shield Slam, but Shield Slam already gives such a big shield that I don't think it's gonna matter that much. That's especially for the regeneration shield you make by using Retribution on the Holy Ground. Then for defensive stats, you're going to have all your base stats into Vitality because you want to have as much health as possible on tank. For the special offensive stats, you're going to full pump swiftness to the maximum. As you can see, the items on the left are lightening up. All the swiftness items are on swiftness except for one, and that's my pants. My pants is on determination, so that the determination is the highest. If I were to put my pants on swiftness, I wouldn't be able to have my determination be buffed by valence. There's also a hard, I think it's also no more gaining once you pass the 500 mark on swiftness, because the cooldown is going to be 55% on 500, and that's going to be as much as you can get with some decent stats. We'll be able to get higher, of course, as we get more stats from higher quality gear as the patches and the layers progress, but for now that seems to be the best option with what I have. I'll be able to pump swiftness to 500 because of the swiftness potion, and if you don't have that, then you also have your victory cross that gives another 40 stats to your main offensive stats depending on which class you are. For paladins that is swiftness, so you get to the 500 easily either way. On defensive stats, I have 3 items on survivability because there's nothing else to take on your shirt, cape and gloves. When you are running elemental protection stats as a tank, because some bosses are elemental based, you can put them on elemental so that you're gaining some more vitality instead, because you won't be wasting stats to survivability. Now survivability is supposed to also help with the shields you're getting, so for example your shield slam and your retribution is supposed to give you a higher shield value as well by 18%, which is a lot honestly, but I don't think it's working for this. Caution has to be always 300, it's a hard cap. Soft cap is at 250, but the 50 stats for a 5% difference is still worth it for me, so I'm still going 300. Physical protection goes maximum to 250. We're not doing the same with caution as in going 300, because the past 250 mark, the percentage you gain for the amount of stats you give it is not worth it at all. But you need physical protection as close as possible to 250. I would say the moment you're going past 250, you wanna switch back one item piece to another defensive stat or vitality. I have concentration 35 because that's my spark rubies. You basically want none, but if you have some that you can't remove, then that's just a bonus. So that's everything for stats. Then we have the artifacts. Artifacts, you want to have Dragon Aspis for sure, level 5 preferably minimum, because that's going to give you 10% reduction plus another 5% with your party, because level 5. It's going to heal you as well when you drop low, so you have an emergency on that one. It's just a necessary artifact for tanking. I have Victory Cross because of the 40 bonus swiftness that I'm getting, and also the bonus damage you get. And the bonus damage helps you a bit on aggroing, so that's never bad. And extra DPS is always welcome, extra damage is always welcome to speed up the combats, even if it's a little bit. Now I'm using Codex of Life because level 4 is giving me a shield every 10 seconds. That helps me absorbing damage coming in. But that also goes for everybody in my team. So everybody in my team gets that shield as well. So that's a very nice addition. On top of that, just like Dragon Aspis, if I happen to drop too low during combat, it's going to kick in and it's going to help me heal up again. Which is like a backup artifact, which is good. Now, if you have somebody in your party, DPS or a healer preferably, for PvE that's able to wear Codex level 4, I would suggest swapping your Codex level 4 because you only need one person that gives this level 4 shield to the whole party, and switch it for the Unity Triquim. Unity Triquim is the support artifact, but we've been discussing this for a while now, and we believe that it works. So whenever you use Martyr Shield, you're going to apply defense effect because of a Ruby you have. Now the defense effect is supposed to be buffed when you have the support artifact. So defense gives now a base value of 40% less, 40% mitigation. So with the artifact equipped, you'll have 44% mitigation as a tank, and the defense effect also applies to your whole party. So it might be very important to have. We really don't know if it works or not. It's hard to check with a 4% difference whether it works or not. We're assuming that's how it works, so that's what I would recommend, and that's also what I'm doing when I can. And then it's the gameplay. So the gameplay is the most confusing thing for people, and apparently also the hardest thing to learn. I'll try my best to explain as good as possible. I'll show you a few different rotations that are happening, that I've seen going around, and I'll discuss them with you. So when you start combat as a tank, you always want to have Rage of Light up before combat starts. That way you're going to save yourself a cannon. Whenever you start combat, the moment combat starts, you can basically proc your pledge, because your pledge is going to give you the extra damage reduction mitigation and also the damage boost. You can basically spam this off cooldown because it's such a low cooldown. You always have the buff up, and it's basically only giving you the bonus cannons. As you see, the moment I put my Holy Ground up, I'm using Shield Slam right after because it's giving you the huge shields you get because of the Rubies. So as for how Shield Slam works, as it makes you a big shield on top of your health bar, you have 3 rubies that contribute to this effect. The first ruby is a glowing shield at the bottom. It's going to give you a default shield whenever you Shield Slam on the target, regardless of anything else. So simply doing a Shield Slam gives me 36,000 barrier, which is exactly the amount that's in the Ruby description. So I'm gonna type this quick, 36,000. Now the next ruby that's going to give us an extra shield is Unbreakable Shield. This is going to give our Shield Slam another 107,000 shield if the target has the Conviction buff. This is Conviction buff, so if I apply this and then Shield Slam, you'll see that I have now 143,000, let's say 104,000, which nearly sums up the 107 plus the 36k, comes down to 144,000. And the last ruby there is that does anything with these shields is Rebuke, and Rebuke is when you apply Retribution on a target with the Conviction buff as well, it's going to give a shield every time you use Retribution. It's stacking up, and that's how you basically regenerate your shield throughout combat. Now the effect of this is doubled when you're on Holy Ground, and this is the sentence that matters the most here. The effect is doubled on the Holy Ground. And then it talks about something about Martyr effect, yada yada, but there is nothing about Shield Slam. There is nothing mentioned about Shield Slam shield that he's gained here is also doubled on Holy Ground. Meanwhile, in practice, we see here that when we have Holy Ground up, not even going to have Conviction effect, and I do Shield Slam, you see that we have a full shield, or nearly full shield, 390,000 value, even though there is not a single ruby stating that Shield Slam is buffed so much when there's a Holy Ground active. So my assumption is that this ruby Rebuke, the translator simply missed the word Shield Slam in this whole description, or it's a bug / exploit that was never really fixed, and this was never supposed to give such a big shield on Shield Slam. Now if we're going to get Holy Ground up again and apply the Conviction effect and then Shield Slam, you see that the shield is completely full and it went to full health. So I'm assuming it's a bug or exploit, and we were getting 390,000 health. So when Holy Ground was up, it's supposed to give us double that, which is 780,000 health. But the shield never goes above our current health. That's why it's getting bottlenecked and it's only giving us the maximum shield we get. So what happens here is that these rubies are in effect. So we're getting the Shield Slam shield. We're getting the bonus Shield Slam shield if Conviction is active. We're somehow also getting the double effect when the Holy Ground is active. And then this even still, the Holy Ground plus the Conviction still overlaps and is supposed to give us a shield worth of 720,000 shield. But we're not getting that because our stamina is not as high. But that's how Shield Slam works. So in reality, in the rubies, there is no way for you to learn about this. In reality, what you always do is you have Holy Ground up, and then you make sure your target has Conviction, but in reality you always use Rage of Light, so he's going to have Conviction. Simply goes a Shield Slam and you'll have your full barrier up. Now it's not full because I had no Conviction up, but that's how it works. It's very important to have this shield up at all times. Now it does remove itself after some time, but you'll be able to do it for sure twice in every Holy Ground rotation. Now what you can do is also, so for every time you use Shield Slam, you'll be getting a Vanguard effect, which is another mitigation on top of everything you already have running. And as Holy Ground is giving you the 30% mitigation, you might want to try to have your second Shield Slam execute right before your Holy Ground expires, so that without Holy Ground you're pretty much a skinny guy that's easily one shot. But if you manage to put Shield Slam before Holy Ground expires, you'll have this Vanguard effect covering for you while Holy Ground is off. So it's going to help you survive. Also very important to never use Shield Slam if you don't have Holy Ground up or if you're not in the Holy Ground. Now I'm using my add-on here, Cool Buffs, that is showing me that I am in the Holy Ground. So as the moment I run out of my Holy Ground, it's going to disappear, so that I know for sure that I am in my Holy Ground, that I will get the buff from my Shield Slam or not. As you can see, the rotation moved so badly that now my Holy Ground expired, but my Shield Slam was up. So I won't have Vanguard right now. In a situation like this, the best thing you can do is do Strike of Justice instead, because you're going to get Vanguard effect as well. And if that is on cooldown, you might want to go to a tonic. I'm using this tonic usually because it's the physical protection one. That's usually the one you want on tanking. You can use the order tonic because that's going to be 30% for all damage types. But the only negative thing about this one is that it's on your global cooldown, meaning that when you use this decoction, it's going to take a global cooldown for your next ability to use, while this one is off your global cooldown. As you see, every time you use abilities, you see the cooldown on all the abilities going. You don't see it on that decoction, but you see it happening on this decoction. So that means there's a global cooldown on this one. There isn't on this one. So that's basically the main tanking rotation for during combat. So what happens at the beginning, it's very important to have at the beginning correctly, because that's where most tanks are going to die. So at the beginning you want to do Rage of Light and Strike of Justice. Now the benefit of using Rage of Light is that the idea is that you do it outside of combat, because if you're doing it outside of combat, you still get to keep your cannons, so it's not consumed. Because Rage of Light consumes one cannon of light, but without combat, it's not consuming anything. That means that you're gonna have this mitigation up that you get from your rubies while going in without having to spend the cannon. That allows you to get your Holy Ground up much faster. That also allows you to use your Martyr Shield instead as combat starts, which is going to, because it also costs one cannon of light. So the disadvantage is that when you use Rage of Light and combat already was going on, you're gonna have to spend another global cooldown to get Cannon of Light back up, so you can use Martyr Shield. Now I want my Martyr Shield to be up first, so that I can pop the defense effect for my party and for myself. Defense effect is giving you, like I said, 40% mitigation, maybe 44% with the Unity Triquim up. More if your Unity Triquim is a high level and is pure instead of tarnished. As of Holy Grounds, only reducing it by 30%. So defense effect is much more valuable than Holy Grounds. The Holy Grounds is basically giving you nice mitigation, but its full potential comes when you have done Shield Slam. But that only applies to you as well. That doesn't apply to your party. That's why I still prefer the defense effect, especially because it's off global cooldown, it's super fast to get up. The moment you get hit, you can use it already. It's just going to cost you 1 Cannon of Light. So I'm gonna put it in a slow motion here. First thing you do is pop your Rage of Light, followed by Strike of Justice and your Condemnation. Next thing you do is you spam in your Martyr Shield and get your Vengeance up together with your Holy Pledge to get those extra mitigations from your X Photo and your defense effects. Next thing you do is getting your Holy Ground up, followed by Shield Slam right after. Once you have secured all your defenses up, you can build some extra cannons for your Rage of Light and Condemnation, so you can start dotting your targets and you're good to go. And that's how basically tanking is supposed to go. Now there are people that are saying they want to get Holy Ground up first before even using Martyr Shield. I mean, if it works, that works, but it still makes no sense to me that you would do that while you can have a 40% mitigation up literally at the beginning of the fight, rather than have yourself protected 3 global cooldowns later, because the first global cooldown you would have to do then is, so after you charge in, you probably have to do Vengeance, which is 1 global cooldown, and then you have to do Holy Ground, which is your 2nd global cooldown, and then you have to do Shield Slam so you're protected. So that takes you 3 global cooldowns. In those 3 global cooldowns, there's a high chance of you dying. Then the very first split second you start combat, where you use Martyr Shield and have the 40% mitigation up already. So yes, it might work for you if you're used to do that, but it's not the best way there is, and I hope that you understand now why that is. So there really isn't that much about Paladin tank, that's basically it. I don't know what more to explain to this. A few more additions I can give you is that you always spam Martyr Shield because it's going to heal you up. So then about the build that we have here that I'm using is everything's rank 1. I have Retribution rank 2 so that I can move on to the next layer. Next layer we have Strike of Justice rank 3 so that the cooldown is as low as possible it can get, because you want to have this as low as possible. It says on the description 11.3 seconds, but in reality it's 50 to 47 seconds. Now the artifact used to work, the movement artifact used to work, level 1, reduces cooldown duration of all teleporting abilities. Now apparently charging was considered teleporting, but that's been fixed or removed, so that no longer applies. I have Holy Pledge, there are tanks, and I also used to tank with Pledge of Purity. Now the reason why I switched to Holy Pledge is that when you're ranged tanking, so when you're have your monster running away, you can't use your Retribution to get cannons up. Once you're out of cannons, you're basically gonna die because you can't use your Martyr Shield to metabolize the damage in your barriers. So when you have Holy Pledge, you're always guaranteed to get your light cannons up, and you'll be able to pop your shields always on time. So that's the main reason. For anything else, they just do the same thing. The only disadvantage is that you lose 1 talent point that way, but that's it. Next layer, Shield Slam rank 3, because you want to cooldown as low as possible. And as you also see in the description, you gain the Vanguard effect on top of that if you are using it on the Holy Ground. So once again, Holy Ground is like our main tanking mechanism that we need, but it has to be active. Vanguard is basically the effect that you get from Strike of Justice as well. So for the defense aspect, you get 50% extra mitigation for 9 seconds. That is why I always would say try to use your 2nd Shield Slam right before your holy ground disappears, so that you have this Vanguard effect covering the downtime of your holy ground. It's very important to have that up. Next layer we have the aspect defense. I shouldn't have to explain this. Then our holy ground is rank 3 because the cooldown lowers as much as possible. And as you can see, your Marty Shield defensive screen's cooldowns will reset, so that's another point why I'm using Marty Shield at the beginning, because by the time your holy ground is gonna be up, your Marty Shield will be still on cooldown, but the cooldown gets cut off straight to reset, so that means you'll be able to put Marty Shield up faster again. And as you see, the holy ground on your aspect of defense is significantly increased. Now it would be really nice to have numbers, but I'm assuming that it actually lasts 20 seconds, 21 seconds. I'm used to knowing that my holy ground disappears when I have 8 to 7 seconds left. As I see here, the cooldown is 28, so I'm gonna say the duration is 20 to 21 seconds. Then our next layer is Martyr Shield. This is, you're not tanking if you're not using spamming this ability. This ability keeps you alive, this ability heals you, this ability removes all the damage. This is such a broken ability, given that you're using it on the right situations, such as your holy ground being active, and that you spam it all the time non-stop. The way how I play it, because a lot of people are literally telling me that I think I'm macroing this. I have my retribution with my middle finger, and I have my Marty Shield with my ring finger. My two buttons are next to each other, and I simply made it a habit to always press both fingers at the same time when I'm tanking, like this. That way you will never forget to use Martyr Shield, and I'm always pressing with my ring finger on Martyr Shield non-stop. I just made it a habit that way. You could macro it if you like, but that's how I next ability is Rage of Light. Rage of Light is the ability that you will need to have some extra mitigation of 30%. You want to time this sometimes for certain bosses for big incoming attacks, because you have mitigation of another 30% when your Rage of Light is active. Now Rage of Light doesn't last really long, as you see here, it lasts 3 seconds. So you want to time it really well. Aside of the mitigation, it is an aggro boost, as you hear with this Ruby. So it's important to have Rage of Light and to spam it. If you know the boss, if you know the fight, simply spam it. And if you know that you're gonna have to save it for a certain strong attack, I learned this especially when I was tanking Naiha's first boss, Hidas. I had to save it for the big attack that he was doing sometimes. That it really helps out that way. Next layer, there's only one ability, Blinding Blow. Have it rank 1 so that I can interrupt some casting sometimes. It's very helpful also on Naiha's rate, that's where I started to use it the most. It can save sometimes in heroics as well. So rank 1 is all you need. Next layer, you don't need these two abilities. I have Conviction. Now it is rank 3 and it should be rank 3 because the aggro you see it generates is scaling with the rank. If you have rank 1, it only gives 30% more threat. Rank 2 66, rank 3 100. So you want this rank 3 for sure. Very important because your Rage of Light also applies this effect every time. Actually it's just in the description. So as you see there, in aspect of defense, all enemies within the range receive the Conviction effect, which is this one. Next layer is Condemnation and Defensive Screen. Now Condemnation is rank 3 because it's simply a damage dot, and I had the telepoints left, so why not? Now like I said, extra damage is not bad at all, and because you have the Ruby Interdiction, you're going to give the long interdiction dot when your Condemnation is up every time you use Rage of Light, which is going to help you a lot on the damage you do. Now Defensive Screen, it's rank 3 out of a habit, but I honestly rarely use it, just like with Overcome. I suppose it's helpful in some situations, but I've always found it more beneficial to spam Martyr Shield instead and give your party that 40% mitigation rather than use Defensive Screen and give them a fixed amount of shield that way because of your rubies. The shield that you're giving to your party is also because of a ruby. This is here somewhere, it's this one, which is going to give 50% of the damage stored in your barrier as a shield to the whole party. Next layer, there is a Veil of Light. Spell of Light is a good ability, very important to have it rank 3 so that the cooldown is as low as possible, and so it also absorbs the maximum amount of 50% of their max health. Then the next layer, last layer, is the Circle of Justice. Now I have this rank 3 so that the cooldown is as low as possible once again, and I also think the duration lasts longer. Now this is important in a few heroic runs where we made the habit to use this Circle of Justice, and it really helped us a great deal. Now I have Holy Intervention rank 3 as well so that it heals the maximum amount possible. It helps on some bosses in heroics as well. If you have a talent point left over, probably because free to play has extra more talent points, you can take Judgment Day. It's basically another CC you would have to interrupt and avoid letting monsters cast their abilities. So then I'm gonna overrun the rubies with you quick. So the first grid, you take the Swiftness, because Swiftness, you take extra stamina for stamina. Then we have to get to the Triumph of Light, or if you're using Pledge of Purity, to Pure Thoughts, because of the X photo effect. Now the X photo effect, as you can see here, damage dealt increases by 25%, incoming damage is reduced by 15%. So that's another mitigation you have going on there. So because you can't go there either via this way or that way, it doesn't matter really, you need to spend 2 rubies to get over there. You're going to go either way, so you like, so you get a guaranteed chance that it procs. Next grid I have it so that you go for the Pledge of Vengeance, because you're going to have to apply this on your engineer most of the times, or on a weak person in your party, so that they survive easier. You need the slow effect on your Holy Ground. Now I have this ruby because it helps me on Land of Thousand Wings and Tuck River Run, where you apply Holy Ground. That Holy Ground is going to apply slow effect to all the monsters inside Holy Ground, and that on its turn is going to make them unable to cast their special abilities, which usually are one-shots or worse for your party. So it's important that you have this ruby to buy your party time. Then we're going to take the Figure Rubies, because that's a big bonus. Rage of Light damage increase, because I'm spamming it so often that I think it's actually valuable. Then we went for the Interdiction, for the double condemnation dot Heat Lightning, because we want to go to this ruby, and that's going to reduce the cooldown of Holy Grounds. Then we go down here, so extra holy damage, because basically most of our damage is holy. The condemnation dots, the Holy Ground, the Rage of Light, everything is holy. As you see here, condemnation damage increased and duration increased as well. Energy Surge is a small damage boost, but it's not really considered anything. We just took it because we wanted to get to Law and Order, and Law and Order increases the condemnation duration by 1.5 seconds for every time we attack with Retribution, which is very nice. Last grid is basically tanking grid, is where we take the most stuff. So first I went up, took the extra bonus health. On the left we have Taunt, which we really need, so I hope you take that one. Same for your AoE Taunt. Now AoE Taunt, you need also the rubies that apply weakness effect for 8 seconds, so that when you're attacking packs, you AoE Taunt, you're going to make them deal less damage on you and on your party, which is very helpful. We take Rebuke. Rebuke makes it so that you will get a shield every time you use Retribution on a Conviction buff. So basically what happens is that when you put Rage of Light or use Conviction yourself on a monster, Rage of Light will apply Conviction as well. So that monster will have, let me show you here. So I'll do Rage of Light. You'll see that he's going to get the Conviction effect. There we go. So every time you're going to do Retribution on that Conviction, you see that you get this shield up all the time. It's comparable to Concentration Barrier, but it's more effective because it's PvE and you're a tank as well. When it's used on Holy Grounds, it's actually doubled the effect, so you're gonna get double value shields on Holy Ground. Also, a Martyr effect is applied to the group, as I see, for 2 seconds. Martyr increases incoming healing by 5%. I'm not sure if this really helps, if anything, if they already have Bloodlust going on, but I guess we'll take it along with the rest of it. Damage of these abilities increases by 21%, so I'm assuming that the Retribution's damage also increases by 21% because of this ruby. Then we're going up, we have the Last Frontier Rubies, which is giving yourself and your whole party another 5% mitigation on the Holy Ground for every party member that's in the holy ground. That is 5% isn't much, but it's something. It sits for 5 seconds, but I've seen in reality it's actually bugging a lot. And let me see quickly to get it up. Yeah, they're just flaming shields. It's only 5 seconds, I guess. When people run out and back into it, I'm not sure if you get it again. No, it's not really as a big deal. You might even drop it. I took it because I thought 5% is good. For people that are inside of it, I guess why not. Then we have combat heat, so you get cannons automatically every 8 seconds instead of 10. Now it's a little bit boost, but in the long term you're going to benefit from this a lot. Then Rage of Light, extra mitigation on your Rage of Light. Like I said, when you use Rage of Light it's gonna last 3 seconds. For those 3 seconds you're gonna have a 30% extra mitigation. We have shield barriers, so our barrier increases by another barrier, so we have 4 instead of 3. Allows us to take more damage and survive them. Stonewall decreases cooldown, defensive screen, martyr shield, and overcome by 10%. Now this is very important, especially for martyr shields. This is the main reason why we have these rubies. Home Soul is the mitigation you get when you get Holy Ground up. Like I said at the beginning, some people are using it very fast. I would still recommend to use Martyr Shield for the defense effect. And then I have Vanguard rank 1, so that every time you use Shield Slam, you're going to get some bonus heal extra on top of the healing from Martyr Shield. This is pretty optional. You can drop it if you like and take something else. Same for Last Frontier, you can drop it and take something else if you like as well. Then we're going down to Master of Defense. It's making your barrier store 80% of incoming damage instead of 50. So what this means is that when a mob or when any value damage goes into a tank, 50% of this goes on your health, 50% goes in your barrier. With these rubies, 80% is going in your barrier, 20% goes on your health. That makes you way tankier that way. Also aggro increase, which is always welcome, because I've noticed some problems with aggro sometimes. Then Burning Radiance is extra aggro on Rage of Light and Holy Ground. Once again, aggro is always good, but if you see that you can do fine without it, then please go without it. Absolution is a good ruby. Makes you take less damage for every time, makes you reduce damage in your barriers every time you're using a cannon. But I've figured out that, or we figured out that you want to have damage in your barriers, because the more damage there is in your barriers, and every time you use Martyr Shield, the more you will heal up again. And as long as those barriers never pop, which is basically never, it doesn't matter how much damage is in your barriers. You could have 30 million, it's going to full heal you all the time. So it's important to basically let as much damage come into your barriers, but don't be a one-shot. That's what it is about. So I removed this ruby. Then Heroism is rank 1. Now you need rank 1. I would not say take rank 2, because same principle as Absolution is going to reduce damage by 30% instead of 15 in your barriers, which you don't want, because you want as much as possible damage in your barriers. But it's important to have this ruby because it's going to put all the barriers that you're reducing into one barrier, so that 3 more barriers are free to take more incoming damage. So that's why it's rank 1. Apologia is the defense effect you get from your Martyr Shield, so this is a very important ruby that you have this rank 2. I think rank 1 only lasts 2 seconds, so you want it rank 2 for 4 seconds. Then we have Ages of Faith. Indestructible screen here means this one, defensive screen, and that one is granting you all your party members a shield that absorbs 50% of incoming damage. Now how much this value is from indestructible screen, as you see. Oh, actually indestructible screen means this ruby. Okay, so now we learn this as well. So indestructible screen grants all your party members a shield that absorbs 50% of the incoming damage, and that 50% of incoming damage is your defensive screen, grants you a shield that absorbs damage equal to 50% of damage. So basically what happens is that when you have 100k in your barrier and you're using defensive screen, you're gonna get a 50k% shield on you, and that 50k shield is going to give 25k to your whole party. That's how I understand it from this. I suppose that's that. So it's only 25% basically from the damage you remove with defensive screen that's going to go in your party. So once again, like I said in before, I wouldn't advise to use this ever. I have it as a backup as emergency, but I've never really had to use it. It's kind of like overcome back in the day. And this Ruby glowing shield is the big shield you're getting when you're using shield slam on holy ground. So that's the most thing I can tell you about Paladin tanking, how to tank it, how to play it. That's all I can do for you. Hope you liked everything you saw. Hope I helped you with tanking Paladin. Hope you understand something more now that you were maybe confused about back in the past, or that you weren't sure about. And hopefully see your name on those heroic rankings. See you guys.